out of the usual, but we have people closer or older than I am this time around. All around nice people, chill enough to even go out and drink with. But among them I see a familiar face. The same fat, unkempt creeper I knew back in high school. Oh no. I try my best to conceal my identity. I was very fat in high school, but over that time I fitted up, so it wasn't hard to conceal who I was with so much of the weight gone. Trainer then yells, "Yo, Anon, can you help me out with this? Fuck.png. David's eyes immediately lock onto mine and he bolts towards me. I try to get away and pretend like I didn't see him. Luckily that was enough to get away. Think maybe he was just young, dumb and full of hormones back in high school and he's changed. Nope. No less than a week goes by before one of my female trainees comes to me. "Mr. Anon, can I talk to you in private?" "Sure, let's go to the room." We sit there for a good 5 minutes in silence before she finally tells me that another trainee has made her feel uncomfortable. "Oh fuck, I think. Can I know who it is?" "David," she says. Said that earlier in the week she was sitting next to him when she asked if she could borrow a pen for some paperwork she needed to fill out. She continues by saying he not only took a pen out of his pocket whilst making lewd gestures, but as he gave her the pen he slightly rubbed his hand on hers. Tells me that she got very uncomfortable but didn't know who to talk to. Tell her I'll speak to David and to leave it to me. Next day, call David to a meeting and tell him to stop fucking around and that this isn't high school. If some shit happens it's on my and the trainer's ass, and it can get him arrested. David just tries to say she wanted it, man. She was so into it I saw how wet she got. Oh fuck's sake. David, if you do this again I'm going to have to not only write you up but suspend you without pay. Lol, okay. Decide that maybe that's all he needs and move on. Next couple of days get complaints from both the men and women in the class about how creepy he is. Tell them if you want him out please make a report about this. Company has a policy where you can't complain on someone else's behalf no matter how much evidence you may have on the person. Over the next few days everything from complaints about his smell to his dress to even his work ethic was sent to me. Few examples. He vomited on his jeans and came to work with the same jeans unwashed for a week. He smelled like urine for 3 days straight and got very close to people when they told him that fact. He kept slightly touching or poking people when they told him to stop multiple times. He full-on reached for someone's dick at one point. All these complaints and not one report. Fast forward 2 months into training and a trainee comes to me that she wants to file a complaint on him. Oh shit. Gif. Lady goat before. He was asking her for a ride and she refused more than 3 times. Finally she got in her car and was about to go when she saw David put his backpack on her hood. He then proceeded to try and open her car door. "Let me the fuck in. I want a ride home. I'll die without a ride home. You fucking slut. You whore. Fuck," he yelled according to her. She finally just decided to drive off but not before he hit her window and cracked it. Okay, this is where it ends. JPEG. But wait, there's more. As I was writing the report to turn it into PR another woman comes in. "Oh hello Miss Anon, what can I do for you?" She begins to cry her eyes out. Uh-oh. Goes on to tell me about how David had cornered her during the previous week's team meeting outside. Says he looked like a man possessed and looked up and down at her like he was just waiting. She got so scared she ran out of the room and just left. She did in fact leave early that day without a word until later that night, where I got a text telling me she had an extreme emergency and I just shrugged it off and let it go. She also wants to file a report and I say okay whilst I get the paperwork. She asks me, "Is he going to get fired?" I tell her that since he now has 2 reports to his name, it is a very real possibility, but just in case keep your distance and tell me right away if anything happens. She leaves and I am now stuck with having to write 2 reports for this guy, and in some way I'm relieved because it just meant I won't have to deal with him much longer. I turn in the reports and notice David outside, think about talking to him and maybe, just maybe, making him understand how fucked he really is. I decide to not and just walk off. All of a sudden I feel a hand on my shoulder and I realize from just the smell it's David. Now what? Gif. Turn to David and there he is looking at me like he wanted to just stab the first thing he saw. What did those bitches fucking tell you? Did they shit talk me? Did they go behind my fucking back? Those fucking cheating whores. I didn't answer his question, but I did tell him that he has to make sure to watch himself from now on unless he wants to be put on some sort of registry. A month passes and the brass doesn't deem it enough to fire this fucking creep. I'm just as surprised as anyone. Finally the fateful day comes. David's finest hour. Starts off normal, but for the past month we had David in a separate cubicle away from the class at the behest of our PR department. Finally lunchtime goes and of course my job is to keep a lookout for David. If anyone here has worked for the certain company I worked for, you know they run their shit like they do the mob, really shady, and no one outside usually gets involved, and people on the floor or in management get used for, say, unusual secondary tasks. Go about my lunch having to make sure David doesn't leave my sight or go near anyone. Most of the team I was helping train felt bad and ate with me during that time even though they knew they weren't supposed to. Anyways, get to about 3:30, almost time to let the trainees go home. All of a sudden David comes up to me. Looks me in the eye. Like he tried telling me something with only his gaze. Can I help you, sir? I need you to teach me something again, sir. Okay, sure, what do you need help with? He takes me to his cubicle. I see him reach into his bag. He takes out a list. It has written on it the names of the people who have either filed a report or just generally complained about him. David, what is this? Just a list, sir. I just wanna make sure they get what comes to them someday. What? No, I have a gun or 2, not mine, but I can use them. David, you do know what you're telling me can be taken as a threat. So what? You're my friend. If I kill them you can help me, right? Remember I gave you $1 in high school? I scratched your back, now scratch mine. Decide that enough was enough and go to the PR person. Tell her the shit that happened and she tries to make every excuse as to why it may not have been so bad or why we can't just fire him. Tell her that besides me 2 other people filed official reports and everyone has complained more than once about him. Finally she gives way and say they'll investigate it. Tell her if she wants to see it then her best option would be to get him to show you his bag right now. Reluctantly decides to go and check his bag along with some security guards. David, knowing that he's fucked, tries to make up any excuse he can. No, they are all just bullying me. They're hating me cause I'm gay. I have bipolar depression and need help. I'm a virgin with rage, I'm not kidding. Literally anything he can to try and get out of it. David, knowing he can't get out of this, snaps and lunges at the PR woman. He actually gets a good few hits in before the security guards and I pried him off of her. The whole thing makes enough of a scene to get people to look at what's going on. David continues to try and fight his way out of it all and even takes a swing at me before the head trainer, who is former military sergeant, comes and just chokes him out. We toss David outside and call the police. PR lady files a report that he went and assaulted her. Police also find about 3 bags of coke in his bag. Arrested on assault and possession charges. He gets hauled off, hopefully never seen again. After the dust settles I finally decide to rest at my desk. As I was going back to my desk I found another note that was from David. If you're reading this, it's because I wanted to see your face last. I wanted you to be the final one I shot. I want to be the last thing you fucking see, you traitor. You man whore, I hate you and I will fucking kill you. Never heard if he is out or still in custody, but I won't lie when I say I still look over my shoulder sometimes. Oh, and here's a pic of the note that I kept.
Alright/X. I've been a long time lurker and never posted anything. But tonight I have something special for you. Before we get started, I would like to mention I'm a 27 years old male. I have no experience in the occult or Satanism, but when I was younger I talked of big game. I live in southwestern PA, it's a very old part of the country and a lot of history happened here. What I'm going to tell you is my account of contact made with a demonic entity 2 years ago. I would have spoken up sooner but feared skeptics, as I was going to try to pass this off as cold hard truth to try to convince people. That and it completely shattered my perception of reality. But for all intents and purposes I'm going to tell the story. You can believe it if you like. Or don't believe. Or you can take it at its entertainment value. Either way, enjoy the ride. And please feel free to share stories on the related topic. Now this is pre-typed and long, so just give me a minute to get it all up. And yes, there will be green text. Now before we start with the real story, we must go back to when I was a young child at my mom's house. It was my mom, my 2 older brothers, and me living together. I was around 6 when things started getting weird at our house. When it started exactly I can't really say. My brothers and mom kinda are religious. My eldest brother is now a pastor. My middle brother claimed at night he would hear loud footsteps stomping through the house, at night while no one was up. My oldest brother claimed to have seen a dark shadowy figure come out of his room and advance towards him one day when he was coming home. He waited outside until everyone else came home. My mom claimed that she would hear something being smashed against the house at night but no damage in the morning. She also claimed that she was nudged awake one night, thought it was me, put her arm out to pull me into bed, and nothing was there. This is what I experienced. I used to sleep in the same bed as my mom when I was kid. Be me. Laying in bed. Facing the doorway. Door was wide open. Then very slowly, a tall dark figure would come out of wall. It would inch closer. And closer. And closer. Made it to the doorway. I was paralyzed with fear. Only thing I could do was close my eyes. I shut them. Open them. It's gone. Then it started to come back out of the wall again. Then would slowly advance towards me. Close eyes again. Then it would reset. Until I finally fell asleep and couldn't see it anymore. I never talked about it to my brothers or my mom or anyone. I knew they talked about stuff that happened, but it was like I forgot all about it until it would start to happen later that night. One particular event only happened once. Be sleeping. Wake up. Immediately sit up. There is a man and a woman in my mom's bedroom. Except they are transparent. Looking right at me. Both smile a very kind, non-threatening smile. They begin to talk to me. But no sound comes out. The man holds his hand out like he's offering me something. I go to grab it. Hand goes through his.